This is Piers Morgan Live. I'm Chris Cuomo, and tonight for Piers, welcome to our viewers in the United States and around the world. We have blockbuster political news tonight. Anthony Weiner in hot water again for some new not safe for work texts.
I have said that other texts and photos were likely to come out, and today they have.
You're right.
As I've said in the past, these things that I did were wrong.
The question is, why did they come out now? What will they mean? Weiner's wife, Hoover Abedin, standing by her man. What will all this mean for his hopes to be the next mayor of New York? Will the Big Apple still forgive and forget? Anthony Weiner's latest scandal. Joining me now, CNN's Margaret, Hoover, and Kevin Madden. Also, Lanny Davis, the author of Crisis Tales, 5 Rules for Coping with Crises in Business, Politics, and Life. He's also former special counsel to President Clinton and the founder of Purple Nation Solutions. Did I get it all in, Lanny? Did I get it all in?
Yes, thank you.
All right, good. It's great to have everybody here. I believe there is one obvious question on the table, so let's just start with that. Anthony Weiner came out and said, after I resigned, there were more of the behavior that got me in trouble that I had to resign for. Why did he say this? Well, the text messages came out on a website. Okay, so they're out there. There's more. The obvious question, Margaret Hoover. After he resigned, there was more. He has an explanation, but does it matter?
You know what? We're going to have to see how this plays. I think it does matter. I think it matters.
Don't take the middle ground. So, Kevin, I put it to you. How do you think this plays that he continued the behavior after the resignation, though saying, well, we were working through things in our marriage? Is that good enough?
No, it's not. I mean, many voters now will say you're out of excuses. You know, they gave him a chance once. Everybody has a chance at one chance at redemption. They don't get two. And I think the big problem here, again, is that in order for Anthony Weiner to get past this issue, to get past the last chapter, he had to start a new chapter that was all focused on what he was going to do for the voters of New York City. And now, again, the campaign focus is back on him. It's back on his problems with his marriage. It's back on his problems that he's had with sexting in the past, and where voters, you know, they don't even know whether they can trust him to be telling the truth this time. So all of that is just devastating for him right now. I just don't see how he gets past this.
All right, well, just to bring everybody up to speed, this is the new universe of possibility for Anthony Weiner. Let's take a little listen to what he said at his press conference.
I have said that other texts and photos were likely to come out, and today they have. As I've said in the past, these things that I did were wrong and hurtful to my wife and caused us to go through many challenges in our marriage that extended past my resignation from Congress. While some of the things that have been posted today are true and some are not, there is no question that what I did was wrong. This behavior is behind me. I've apologized to my wife, Hoover.
All right, Lanny Davis, so you're familiar with this universe of sound. What is your take? What is more important, what Anthony Weiner says as explanation, or the woman standing to his left?
Both. The one thing I would say to my co-panelists is that we can't be sure how voters will react, and anything said definitively, I think, is premature. Number one, his conduct and his behavior, indefensible, which he's described it. He's showing, I think, the right approach as a crisis manager to recount the pain that he's gone through. But most important, having Hoover Abedin in full disclosure. I've known Hoover and have great feelings towards her. I don't know the congressman that well. Hoover being there, the way she spoke, and about it being okay with her that he's a flawed human being, that she's proud that she worked through, and mentioning her son, that is a very profound and very painful moment for those of us who are her friend. But I think that it offers him an opportunity to get forgiveness from the voters. I don't know whether there's enough time for that to take place.
Well, Lanny,
can I make a point on that?
Well, hold on, Kevin, because you know what I want to do to bring this into context? Let's play Hoover's sound, because it really turned things in this press conference. So let's play it, and then we'll comment on it.
As many of you who have followed this campaign know, I've spent a good deal out on the campaign trail, at churches and street fairs, parades. But this is the first time I've spoken at a press conference, and you'll have to bear with me because I'm very nervous. And I wrote down what I wanted to say. When we faced this publicly 2 years ago. It was the beginning of a time in our marriage that was very difficult, and it took us a very long time to get through it. Our marriage, like many others, has had its ups and its downs. It took a lot of work and a whole lot of therapy to get to a place where I could forgive Anthony. It was not an easy choice in any way, but I made the decision that it was worth staying in this marriage. That was a decision I made for me, for our son, and for our family. I didn't know how it would work out, but I did know that I wanted to give it a try. Anthony's made some horrible mistakes, both before he resigned from Congress and after. But I do very strongly believe that that is between us in our marriage. We discussed all of this before Anthony decided he would run for mayor. So really what I want to say is, I love him, I have forgiven him, I believe in him, and as we have said from the beginning, we are moving forward. Thank you very much. Thank you for...
Very painful, very powerful. Kevin Madden, I will come back to you now that we've heard that. I have forgiven him, and I believe in him. I love him. That comes from the wife. How do you know that the voters don't say, if it's good enough for her, it's good enough for me, on with the politics?
Well, I think Lonnie's point earlier was right in the sense that we really don't know for certain how voters are going to react to that. But there's two things that could happen here. The first is they could find that that's a very personal statement and that in many ways humanizes the situation. Not everybody has perfect marriages. People go through these problems all the time. But the other side of it is that voters could recoil that Anthony Weiner would ever put his wife in this situation where she had to do this, because in many ways it could have been humiliating. And at the end of the day, he's still the one that's on the ballot, and he's the one that has to face the voters' judgment. But
the question is on what basis? Margaret, you say she had to be there.
She has put herself, look, she is in this. She chose to be there. Okay, nobody forced her to be there. She is an independent woman, and she chose to be there. And she has basically chosen to be a character witness to her husband in this campaign. So, look, if she were not there, voters would say, where's his wife? Why would we trust him if she doesn't even trust him? But by showing up and saying, I have forgiven him, she is a testament to his trustworthiness, and she is giving voters a reason to not completely dismiss him right now.
Chris. There's an element of truth to that, but his trustworthiness, there is such a greater reservoir of information to show that he's entirely untrustworthy.
All right,
Chris,
Lanny, Lanny, please, get in on this.
Look, I just want to remind everybody watching and my co-panelists that this is a very painful experience for this couple. And we as Americans have shown over the years, from Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton through the Eisenhower, Kennedy, and all the way through previous administrations, a capacity for distinguishing personal weaknesses involving hurting spouses and loved ones, similar to this one, and performance in office. We've shown that ability. We show the ability to forgive, and we constantly, within the Beltway, and I plead guilty to this, underestimate the ability of people to make that distinction and to forgive the person with human weakness.
I have to laugh out loud. It's just great because this is Lanny Davis. Lanny is a good friend who was Bill Clinton's counselor, and that
so
is exactly what Bill Clinton did. Exactly. I mean, that's what Bill Clinton was so successful at being able to do, was to distinguish
let's call it,
personal work on the job from his personal behavior.
Right. Well,
I mentioned Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson too, but I don't know whether they had advisors like
well, then
me.
let's admit that this is no longer a campaign, that this is instead a public therapy session.
Well, but Kevin, hasn't that been the case all the way along? I mean, this is all played out in public with Elliot Spitzer getting in the race as well.
That's true,
this is
I'd agree, and I just wonder if the judge.
We're going to take a break here right now. We're going to come back and keep talking about this. I pose a question to the floor and to you at home. Who is making this about these problems of Anthony Weiner? Is this something that he's bringing out, or is this all about the media? Will the voters care, or is this just media bloodlust? We'll talk about it when we come back.
resignation was not a point in time that was nearly as important to my wife and me as the challenges in our marriage and the challenges of the things that I had done, and working through them. Some of these things happened before my resignation, some of them happened after, but the fact is that that was also the time that my wife and I were working through some things in our marriage.
All right, the headline, Anthony Weiner says there are more of these sexting-type emails that happened after I resigned. That's the headline. The question is, do you care as voters, or is this just something about media manipulation? Talking about it, we have CNN's Margaret Hoover. We have Kevin Madden. We also have Lanny Davis, the author of Crisis Tales, 5 Rules for Coping with Crises in Business, Politics, and Life. 3 people perfectly suited to talk about this. Mr. Davis, I'll begin with you with this question. The idea of veracity, trustworthiness, his ability to tell the truth. Do you believe that Anthony Weiner was not telling the truth when he said that there would be more? Was that enough to cover this? Or was this new behavior that makes him untrustworthy?
Well, clearly he warned us ahead of time, and as someone who looks at crises and tries to mitigate harm, that was a wise decision by him. I would have liked for him to address the post-resignation behavior more frontally, because that is an issue that will bother some voters. But the other thing I would point out about his performance today is that without Hoover being next to him, it'd be a much different conversation. This is a huge, meaningful presence by Hoover, and there will be voters that might be turned off by this, and I'm sure there are, and they have a right to be.
But there are also
people that will find sympathy in the two of them fighting through this.
Of course, and haven't we seen it already? Kevin Madden, I come to you on this. They know what this is. This is an outgrowth of the same kind of stuff. I'm not condoning it, but looking at it politically, I know why it matters in the media. You hear the rabid questions coming from the media after Hoover finished her statement. He foolishly took questions, Anthony Weiner, and the media attacked him. The voters have said this is okay. Why should this matter?
Well, I think this matters because this is no longer a question about a campaign that's really about ideas and issues that they care about. Right now, this is a campaign that's in crisis, and it's a campaign that is about Anthony Weiner and his past. And I think that is his biggest challenge right now as a candidate. As Lanny talked about earlier, I think the 2 things that you really need to do to handle a crisis is, first, you have to get all the facts out there. I think one of the big problems is that there may be more facts to come, and they may be just as embarrassing as the facts that came out today.
But if they're more of the same, does it matter? Go ahead. What's the second part?
The second part of it is counter-communications, which is changing the topic, changing the story. I just don't see how, that he's going to be able to change the topic here and talk about the issues that many voters matter. Right now, there's a mother in Woodside, Queens. There's a father in Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn. They care about very big issues, and instead, Anthony Weiner's talking about his past.
But that's because
right now you have a host of other very strong candidates that are not novices to the New York City political scene.
But if they were that strong, he wouldn't have jumped in the polls, Kev. He wouldn't have jumped in the polls if they were so strong.
He jumped in the polls because there was a lot of attention paid to him, and you can coast on that for a while, but ultimately voters are still going to make their decisions based on what's best for them, not whether they're going to give redemption to Anthony Weiner.
I got you, but Margaret, I'm coming to you on this. Here's my feeling that I can't get past on this. The voters have already said they think it's okay. The attention that Anthony was getting was largely about this. So that's the attention he was getting. So now, why would the family in Woodside, Queens, and everyone that Kevin points out demographically say, I don't want to hear about this?
In fact, it may have propelled him into one of the top 2 seats. And of course, this is a top 2 Democratic primary runoff. So he doesn't have to be winning in the primary. He just has to be in the top 2. And he has a real shot at being there. His sex scandal actually has helped him because everybody knows who he is. This notoriety may not hurt him. And that's what we have to see. That's why Lanny's exactly right. We don't know how this is going to play out. And Hoover being there today probably helped save the campaign.
Do you think that his wife humanized him?
She humanized herself for sure, because did you notice the first thing she said? She said, I've never spoken out, and I'm a little nervous. And I hope you'll bear with me.
Lanny Davis, I come to you with this last thought. He made the mistake. I call it a mistake. He then decided to take questions, and the media was straight bloodlust. Am I reading that wrong? Do you think he had to do that?
as your crisis manager, I hope you never need my services, my friend Chris.
Me too.
He did the right thing because the unbelievable outbreak of being accosted by the media on something like this is going to accrue to his benefit. And I think he had to open himself up, and he did answer the important question, yes, this happened after my announcement.
Lanny Davis, Kevin Madden, Margaret Hoover, thanks to all of you for the perspective on this. It seems that if this winding up okay for Anthony Weiner, he may benefit from something that is lamentable in society, which is the low bar for public service and what people seem to be able to tolerate these days in their leaders. Thanks to all of you for this. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, the Little Prince makes his debut. We've got every moment of the baby's first day in the public eye.